So, since its accidental funding, MIPSTERZ has been about championing the amazing, multi-talented community Muslim artists, performers, thinkers, community leaders, and creatives. In the early days of MIPSTERZ, we hosted regular get-togethers to build community together. And as that community grew, if you have been a part of MIPSTERZ for a while, you know that the artistic projects have grown over the last decade as well. You can check out all of those projects and many of them by visiting MIPSTERZ.com. I'm going to throw that in the chat. Visit MIPSTERZ.com to check out what we've been up to and even a little taste of what we plan to do. So for us at MIPSTERZ, the most beautiful and fun aspects of the creative process have always been the very simple act of just being in community together, being inspired by each other, and learning about the passions that drive the individual creative processes in our community. And that's exactly why we are bringing you this monthly show. Last Sunday of every month, we are bringing together all the kinds of people I just talked about, and it's going to be a good, fun time. So some of you might remember that we did similar shows in person at the Shed in New York City. Shout out New York. If you're in New York, drop some stars in the chat. You already know the vibes. City that never sleeps. Even Sana or Mommy, if you're from New York, you can throw some love in the chat as well. So we did shows at the Shed in NYC and then again at the Kindy Performing Arts Center in DC. Shout out to my DC area folks. If you're from Maryland, DC, or Virginia, throw some love in the chat. And that was called Good Fun Muslim Friends Club. So now we are taking that same variety show format and bringing it to you once a month as a virtual show. This is the first one, so thank you for being our guinea pig, so to speak. You know, no real pigs up in here. That's haram. You already know the vibes. So we're so stoked to bring this to you every month. And before we get started, there's a few technical aspects I want to bring to the table. First, like I already said, we want this to be interactive. So please respond to my call to action. Throw your feelings in the chat, throw your thoughts in the chat, and throw your questions in the chat. Also, I would love for you from time to time, turn your camera on if you really want to show that you're interested in, and you might just be brought up on the screen like my friend Isaac was. So without any more delay, I see some more folks have joined. Welcome, 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 Aliya. Aliya from North Carolina. I love it. Without further ado, we are going to get started with Good Fun Muslim Friends Show. Up first, I'm going to introduce my first guest, which is MIT professor Sulafa Zidani. Sulafa Zidani is a Palestinian scholar and educator from Haifa, currently at MIT, where she is an assistant professor in comparative media studies and writing. As a scholar of digital culture, she writes on global creative practices and online civic engagement across different geopolitical contexts and languages, such as Mandarin, English, Arabic, Hebrew, and French. Wow, I just know English, so I'm really impressed with you. Sulafa is currently working on a book-length study called All Your Memes Are Belong to Us, about how meme creators navigate transnational politics on the multilingual internet. She has previously published academic and public articles about internet culture phenomena, including memes, mashups, and wordplay. My personal goal is that one day I will become a meme, and Sulafa will give a discussion about it, so let's hope my dream comes true. Yes! Hopefully it's not a really embarrassing one, but most memes are. Outside of the academy, that sounds like Oscars. Outside of academics, Sulafa is an accomplished public educator. She's led workshops on anti-oppression facilitation for media organizations such as Now This, Gimlet Media, and the Writers Guild of America. Let's give some snaps. That's right. Go off, sis. Additionally, she has participated in social justice education forums internationally, and her public writing on pop culture and politics has appeared in global outlets. I'm super excited to welcome our first guest, Professor Zidani, who's going to be taking us through her perspective on Drake memes, especially Muslim Drake memes. Here is Habibti, please. Why are there so many Muslim Drake memes? Take it away.
Thank you, Najah, for the introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm Sulafa. Thank you, MIPSTERZ, for the invitation. I'm really grateful to be here with everybody. So as Najah mentioned in the intro, I study creative practices in digital media. This means that I spend a lot of time on the internet. And I promise it's all for work, but it's a lot of time on the internet. So right now I'm working on my book about memes that mix languages and cultures. And there's a face that comes up a lot in my work. And that is the face of one Mr. Aubrey Graham, also known as the rapper, singer, songwriter Drake. If you don't know who this is, then I'll just briefly introduce him. This is Drake. He is a Canadian rapper who in 2021 was the most streamed artist in online music streaming platforms. And in that same year, he won Billboard's Artist of the Decade award. So he's a pretty big deal in today's popular culture scene. And it's not just that there are a lot of Drake memes on the internet. To me, it really stood out that there are a lot of Muslim Drake memes in particular. So for today's chat, I wanted to invite you to think through some questions with me. First of all, how is it that Drake is so memeable? What is it about this man in particular that makes people want to turn his face into memes? And why are there so many Muslim Drake memes in particular? And what can we learn from Muslim Drake memes about popular culture and about internet culture more broadly? So here's my theory. First of all, Drake is memeable because he's Drake. And what I mean by that is that Drake understands that authenticity is marketable and always tries to present himself as being authentic and genuine. There's evidence from an interview with someone on his team, for example, who said that when Drake was making the video for his song Hotline Bling, which we see in this slide here, he knew that there would be memes made about it. So he's really in touch with meme culture, and he puts that knowledge into his music and his videos. But then why Muslim memes in particular? Let's start with the low-hanging fruit, right? Some of Drake's content itself is related to the Muslim and/or Arab community, whether it's through his lyrics like Habibti Please that I used in today's title, or through his outfit choices that we see a few memes here commenting on an outfit that looked like hijab, and they made hijab and shoulders on the left here. Some of his outfits that people have likened to different times and different figures in the Arab world. Or on the right side, we see somebody says, I didn't know that Drake gets fit inspo from hijabi influencers. And if you'll indulge me, I want to show you my personal favorite, which is this meme. There's a picture from Drake from a charity event that he hosted in Houston. And he has this like uncomfortable looking stance. He's clenching his fist a little bit. He just like looks awkward holding the mic right there. And so a lot of memes were made about that. This one in particular says, Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. A quick announcement. If you own a white Toyota Camry, please move it. You are blocking the masjid exit. And personally, when I saw that meme, it took me right back to my childhood in Palestine. Some people have said that the way that Drake looks too, like his beard, maybe his skin color, reminds them of a Muslim/Arab look. And while these appearances matter, you know, including the way that he dresses, like in this picture, and especially when we're talking about visual culture, appearances definitely matter. But I would argue that there's a lot more to it than that. So secondly, I will say there are a lot of Drake memes and Muslim Drake memes because Drake is not an island. So he grew up in the area of Forest Hill in Toronto. That's the smallest circle on this slide. That's a relatively affluent neighborhood. And later when he was filming Degrassi, the first show that he filmed and kind of was his break to the art world, he spent a lot of time in Riverdale. That's the medium-sized circle down on the map. And that's where Degrassi Street is located. And later in that show, when he was filming the high school portion of the show, he spent a lot of time in Scarborough. That's the large portion, the large circle right here on the slide. So these two neighborhoods, especially Riverdale and Scarborough, these are two neighborhoods that are known primarily for being super multicultural, thanks to a high concentration of immigrant communities around there. Also, on a related note, Drake is more than one person. So this picture that we see here is from the 2021 Billboard Music Awards, where he won the Artist of the Decade award that I mentioned earlier, and his crew were the ones who presented his award to him. That's the OVO crew, the people who are part of Drake's record label, the people who make Drake Drake, basically. And they're also from those immigrant areas that I mentioned. These people are Arab, some Palestinian, some Lebanese. They're Black, Filipino, Puerto Rican, Jewish, Irish, and more. These are his friends and homies, his day ones, as he calls them. And they're also deeply embedded in these immigrant communities around Toronto. They come from and build in these communities. Toronto's immigrant communities get together in strip malls that are marked by the different intersections of where they're located. So When Drake sings about Yusuf and Hamza, says it's a Habibi's thing, or references certain areas like the jungle or Western Road, that's coming from the space that he's actually in and the culture that he's engaged with and his social relationships. He's deeply embedded in immigrant cultures in the Toronto area, Muslim culture being a core one of them. And that in turn is reflected in his music and the visual culture that he creates, which then resonates and is picked up by people who make memes about him on the internet. So to wrap up, I'll make a quick point about why you should care about all this and give a snapshot of my answer to the third question that I asked of what can we learn from Muslim Drake memes about internet culture. Unpacking Drake memes helps us understand a really crucial point about internet culture, which is that it doesn't exist in a vacuum. Many people think that online and offline world are two separate realms and that internet culture phenomena like memes or video trends pop off out of nowhere. But internet content is deeply connected to other industries, like the music industry in this case. And importantly, internet culture is deeply connected to the cultures and geographies that its creators are embedded in and the realities of their lived experiences. So I'll leave you with one message. I hope that when you're consuming internet culture, whether it be Muslim Drake memes, funny TikTok videos, or other stuff on the internet, I hope it adds both to your critical view and to your enjoyment to know that their meanings can be deeper and broader than previously assumed. Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you for that. I would have never thought this deeply into it. That was amazing. Throw some love in the chat for Sulafa, or if you would like to unmute yourself and give a round of applause. Yes, or our sign language round of applause as well. Thank you for that. Beautiful. So we only have a few minutes with each of our guests. So I'm going to jump right in. And if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I actually have a question to start with. And I'm wondering, so I know that ISIS has famously used Drake memes to recruit because of its popularity among the youth. Sulafa, can you speak to that at all? Did you know about this? And do you think it's, kind of goes against what you were saying in terms of using the internet to drive us in a positive way? Or what are your thoughts behind that little fact?
Yeah, I think that, visual culture can serve as a tool for people to use it in different ways, right? Same as, I know we're going to talk about AI later. I think that relates as well to that. And so I might have shown some fun examples. I showed my personal favorites here, but there are definitely, I have heard about ISIS using memes as tools also to recruit people. And so they're going to be either ways that memes are used in undemocratic or hateful ways as well, but that's not the responsibility, I would say, of Drake himself or a reflection of him as a person or his art.
Absolutely. Spoken like a true scholar. You were like, I'm ready for that question. Let's go. Beautiful. And so my second question comes from the chat. What is your research and data collection process for topics such as memes? This person's asking, they're assuming that it's different than more traditionally academic, quote unquote, fields. So what is your research and data collection process like for this?
It is academic, maybe not super traditional, but there are methods such as content analyses, discourse analyses, ethnographic methods. I'm conducting interviews. Not if I write about Drake, I would hope maybe one day to conduct an interview. But for my book, for example, I'm conducting interviews with people. Okay. So there are existing traditional methods that we can use in order to research memes.
Beautiful. Okay. And last question, is it possible to consider this meme genre as identity reflection?
For sure. I think part of the way that people engage with internet culture is to sort of reflect on their own experiences, make sense of them. In my work, the Drake memes are part of it, but I think there's a larger genre of people trying to make memes to sort of like play around with identities. Like, like Muslims do it this way, non-Muslims do it that way, or I'm an Arab, so I follow a lot of Arab meme accounts. Arabs do it this way, non-Arabs do it that way. And these are ways for us to kind of make sense of our place in the world, our identity, and our culture.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's all the time we have for our questions. Sulafa, can you just remind us one more time how we can, follow along your journey, maybe your Twitter handle, Instagram?
Yes, I'll post these in the chat.
Beautiful. And if
Thank
everyone
you.
wants to post their favorite Drake meme in the chat, you absolutely can. Thank you so much, Sulafa. And one more round of applause. Because we're not live, I will give you all the love that everyone is feeling. Thank you so much. Super interesting. Once again, I can't wait until someone makes me a meme. All right, now we're going to kick it to our first of 2 musical performers, and I'm super stoked for this. We are going to have Kuwaisiana. I got it. Kuwaisiana is our first musical guest. Kuwaisiana exists and is made up of Yusuf, Brian, and lead singer Aziz. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Aziz. Aziz is an Arab American songwriter / musician hailing from Kuwait and newly transplanted in Seattle. You can stream his bilingual rock band Kuwaisiana on your platform of choice. He started the band in New Orleans, aka Louisiana, and is resurrecting it in the birthplace of grunge. Yes. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Kuwaisiana to the screen.
Hey everyone, happy Sunday. We're gonna have some tunes for you today. I'm really excited about this. This first one is called Flower with a Hangover. It's a little bit of a downer, but we'll pick you up on the next one. 1, 2, 3, and... Pedal by pedal, do you obey?
No, thank you. Yes. Woo! Wow. Give it up. Throw some love in the chat, how you're feeling after that performance. We're going to give it up for Brian, Yusuf, and Aziz of Kuwaisiana. Oh my goodness. What a powerful, powerful performance. That was so dope. We're going to be chatting with them after their second performance. So y'all can go get some H2O and we will be back with you in a moment. Oh man. So like Aziz mentioned, that one was a bit of a downer, dealing with some topics that are just really, really messing with us these days. School shootings, and it was, it's challenging to listen to things like that. But what I love about art, specifically music, is that it's an outlet for us to be able to talk about the things that are really just getting on our nerves, making us cry. And so I really appreciate you all for sharing those gifts with us. Can't wait to chat with you in a bit. All right, so before I introduce our next speaker, I just want to say that our guests for tonight are volunteering their time out of the kindness of their hearts, which is beautiful, right? We're creating community together. And it's the hope that eventually we'll be able to give all of our guests an honorarium. So if you would like to help donate to the future of Good Fun Muslim Friends Show and MIPSTERZ in general, a little bit goes a long way. So we're asking for some donations, and specifically if you're somebody who has it within your heart and your pockets to donate $10 a month, that will help us with web hosting, Zoom subscriptions, MailChimp, and all the things that go into running a dope platform like MIPSTERZ. So visit MIPSTERZ.com to look at what we're up to, and also maybe consider donating. I'm not going to ask you again. I probably will at least 2 to 3 more times during this show, but we appreciate you. And if you're not able to donate, hey, listen, the fact that you are here and spreading the good word about Good Fun Muslim Friends Show and MIPSTERZ, we love you so much. We're going to introduce our next guest, another professor, and I'm so stoked. If anyone remembers, I'm dating myself a little bit. If anyone remembers Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, I know my brother is on the hotline, and I know you remember that show, then you are going to love this next person. Our next speaker is definitely throwing it back to the Carmen Sandiego days. Rebecca Hankins is the Wendler Endowed Professor and a certified archivist / librarian at Texas A&M University. Shout out Texas, hook 'em. She's been at Texas A&M since 2003 and is a full professor in the Department of Global Languages and Cultures in the School of Arts and Sciences. Also, shout out to former President Barack Hussein Obama, who appointed her to the National Historical Publications and Records Commission of the National Archives and Records Commission from 2017 to 2020. So she has presented internationally and nationally on Islamic science fiction and fantasy, and teaches courses on Africana literature and pop culture memory and myth making, and the use of primary sources and research methodology. Professor Hankins, you are so cool. I'm super stoked to introduce Rebecca Hankins as our next segment with Where in the World is Professor Hankins? International Travel Makes History Come Alive. Take it away, Professor.
Thank you so much. Where are my slides so we can begin? I'll go back. Okay. Yes, this multitasking is going to be an issue for me. So thank you so much, Abbas, Shimul, and Najah, and all of the MIPSTER friends. It's really a great opportunity to share one of my life's passions, international travel, in the tradition of explorers like Ibn Battuta and Marco Polo, and again, Carmen Sandiego. Yes, my presentation is talking about travel and its importance. So I want you to have a couple of takeaways: that international engagement is important. Learning about others around the world encourages empathy and activism. So I always like to show this picture of somebody, one of my daughters. Yes, I do talk about my kids a lot. My daughter, Salima Hankins, is president of the UN Anti-Racism Coalition, and she's pictured here with S.B. Campbell, the first Black VP of Costa Rica. And what Salima notes is there is a long history of Black internationalism and activism, such as people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and many others that have appealed to the United Nations for exposure and redress. They understood that the UN was the international body that could shine a light on human rights abuses, both nationally and internationally. Okay. So Marcus Garvey, everybody has heard of him. Now people don't know about him, but he traveled all over the world encouraging Black people with his Back to Africa movement that was based out of the US. He pushed for Black self-sufficiency and Black independence. And then the middle is an autobiography by an Egyptian woman, Rada Ashur, who learned about anti-colonial movements through her PhD studies at the University of Massachusetts. And then there's always been the Black Panthers were engaged in looking at internationalism and working around other communities. They worked in Korea, Cuba, Angola, because they understood that it was important that color lines were global, and so were anti-racist struggles. And then there's apartheid, of course, that happened in South Africa between the years of 1948 and 1994. And similar to life for African Americans in the United States, everything, including medical care, education, and even the country's beaches were segregated by race. Randall Robinson, who passed away, made it his life work to fight the United States, their tendency to support these apartheid countries. And so he led the boycotts that eventually led to the downfall of the apartheid system in South Africa. And it is people like Angela Davis and former President Jimmy Carter who are exposing the apartheid state in the state of Israel. So, and also Malcolm X, again, we all know about how he traveled around the world to gain support for the struggles of Black people in the United States. Martin Luther King spoke out against the Vietnam War, and many of the military interventions that were taking place by the US internationally. And then there was all of the internationalism that came out of really very, very difficult situations when Ahmadou Diallo was a Muslim from Guinea-Bissau, but he was murdered by the New York Police Department in 1999 while reaching for his wallet. And his murder sparked wallet protests all over the world. And then I always like to show this. Go to your archives, go to your historical societies, learn about international, educate yourself. There's all kinds of movements that are out there. And there are all kinds of solidarity movements that have occurred, and that we need to be not just others supporting us, but we need to support others too. Of course, Donald Trump's Muslim ban, you saw a lot of different groups coming out in support of that. The Black Lives Matters international solidarity marches after the killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, and many others. Even in places they had these marches where you don't see visible Black people. And then there's all kinds of opportunities that are available. There's the Peace Corps, there's study abroad programs at your universities, institutions, organizations. Fulbright has an undergraduate, graduate, and faculty programs where you can travel around the world. And I can always tell my students and have somebody else pay for it. So it's really important that we know about these opportunities that are out there. And then I also like to lead by example. I've traveled all over the world. This is me in Senegal, where I went to Medina Bay, and I was in Dakar, and it was just an amazing opportunity to be there. And I think it is very important for us to travel to these Muslim majority countries. And here I am in Dakar and in Amman, Jordan, where I worked at an archaeological institute. There's in Jordan, that's the American Center of Research, and I worked with antiquities. It was just an amazing opportunity. So these are all available to everyone. I've gone to Goree Island, where in Senegal, the door of no return, where enslaved Africans were deported to the US, Bandung in Indonesia, and in the Gambia. I've also had the opportunity to go to the Haram al-Sharif in Jerusalem, which was an amazing once in a lifetime opportunity, hopefully not once in a lifetime. And then of course, Petra, Jordan, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world. And I've spoken around the world. This is in Egypt. I've spoken at the American University of Cairo. I've also spoken in South Korea and in London, talking about science fiction and fantasy. These are opportunities to travel all over the world. And then I've been this is when I was in Singapore, and I met Muslim librarians and archivists from around the world. And of course, here's in Malaysia, where you can take your friends and have a good time too. And then, as I always tell people, write about your travels. This allows others to live on and live to your work to live on and inspire other individuals. Thank you.
Amazing.
It's really good. It's really good.
Wow. Thank you so much, Professor Hankins. I'm just in awe. You make me wish I made more money so that I can travel, but I love everything you just mentioned. And I'm throwing in the chat. If you have questions for Professor Rebecca Hankins, please drop them in the chat.
Most of those travels, I will say, somebody else paid for. So that's the way I get around. Somebody paid for it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I know we have some questions. First and foremost, I just want to know, out of all of the places you've been, and this is hard, but of course, you know what I'm asking, out of all the places you've been, which has been your favorite and why?
Oh, well, I did love, of course, going to Jerusalem. It was really difficult to see what was going on there, but I was there in 2012, so it was a lot more open than it is now. So that was an amazing experience too. I really enjoyed going to Seoul, South Korea. I spoke at a Catholic university there about science fiction and fantasy, and I was able to work with some graduate students, and that was really amazing too. So most of the places, Jordan was incredible too. Yeah, going to the archaeological digs. Petra, I mean, you have to, if you ever get a chance. Everybody talks about the Dead Sea. I'd say go to Petra.
Yes, beautiful. Go to Petra. You heard it here first. So there's lots of amazing questions, and we won't be able to get to all of them. But one I'm interested in, do you have any advice for writing about your travels? Any guiding questions for reflection? Because people always say, write about it, right? And for some of us, it's really a struggle. We don't know where to start. So any advice about that?
Well, and it's what's great now is you can have blogs, you can have, Substacks, you can have all of these other, you can put things on Twitter and Facebook. And so there are ways that you can get that word out and just talk about what it means to you. I always tell my students to get out of your comfort zone, go somewhere where you are the absolute minority. It really, really makes you reflect on your privileges, so
helps you
definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I think that's, the stepping out of your comfort zone is scary for many of us.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that advice. And are there any common themes you see when you're visiting these places? Anything that feels like it's a common thread between all of them?
Well, I definitely getting into away from the touristy areas and into the neighborhoods and meeting the people. That's always been very important to me, that I don't stick to areas where you see heavy tourist groups. I tried to go in, and being Muslim, one of the main things I would do is visit mosques. And the mosque in Dakar and going to Medina Bay were just lifetime amazing experience that I'll always have. And it was just amazing. Jordan is like that too, because I think Jordan has a mosque on every corner. So it's really something. So I love to go to where the mosques are. Same thing in Egypt. You know, I went to the Muhammad Ali Mosque, incredible. So I try to do that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we do have to keep it moving. There's a lot of questions for you in the chat. Feel free to answer them. I'm curious some of your answers. And if you want to let us know how folks can get in touch with you in the chat as well, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I think you've inspired pretty much everyone here. So thank you so much, Professor Hankins. Yes. Beautiful. All right. We are going to get started with our next musical guest. I just talked to two professors, so I'm going to put these fake glasses on so I feel a little bit more intellectual as I introduce my sis, Lish 2 Times. Beautiful. So it's more music time for you, y'all. Lish 2 Times is just what the doctor ordered if you love hip hop and always like to add a little more spice to your life. Bringing a unique flavor to entertainment, the FIT alumnus Lish 2 Times infuses fashion by mixing bars about the art world, style, and Islamic innuendos, visually translating the 3 in her music videos, showing no skin, but layers of creativity and positivity. Lish is anything but the jaded, monotonous norms of female rap, and her songs speak volumes to the journey throughout womanhood that many neglect to address. Also, outside of the music, she has a vegan show. I don't know if it's Vegalicious or Vegalicious, but she's performed during South by Southwest, which is so cool, and is constantly being interviewed on dope platforms and walking many fashion runways. Without further ado, introducing the new female rap phenomenon, Lish 2 Times. Take it away.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Hope everyone is having a great day. I'm seeing people from all over the world. Lots and lots of great information. Happy to be here. Woo. So yes, my name is Lish 2 Times, and I just put out one of the first ever Ramadan albums. And the first song I'm going to actually do for you, this is my first time ever performing it. It's called The Devil Did It. And it is on the Ramadan album. That's literally what I named it, the Ramadan album. And without further ado, Ramadan Mubarak. It's the greatest.
I say the devil did it, but did I mean me? Could I be really my enemy? Oh Allah, hear me, please. Seeking refuge from being. I say the devil did it, but did I mean me? Could I be really my enemy? Oh Allah, hear me, please. Seeking refuge from being. Oh no. Lazy and cowardly, trying to complete this task. Please help me succeed on God. Ya Allah, Ya Ra. Hear my heart. It's been pain, but I know it's not in vain. You know this ain't no pain, no gain. Difficulty brings ease from the flame. Hereafter gotta get on our brain. Angel of death visits us every day, and we gotta walk the straight way. And if you stumble, then it's okay. Hit the rug and wash it away. Allahu Akbar, what the ministers say. Right, yeah. I say the devil did it, but did I mean me? Could I be really my enemy? Oh Allah, hear me, please. Seeking refuge from being. I say the devil did it, but did I mean me? Could I be really my enemy? Oh Allah, hear me, please. Seeking refuge from being. Wake up, hop out of bed, make a blue shit, fall on my face and I raise up. Alhamdulillah, stay prayed up. Can't fall asleep, gotta stay up. I can let the darkness overtake me. Got my oil, it's the extra with it. Cause I need my letters, the extra lit. So waking up before dawn. Go and grab my Quran. Seeking refuge in Allah from the Aggression Shaitan. Every single day's a battle, I'm fighting the devil, this here is jihad. Real thing, no facade.
trying to humble this pride. I war with the enemy, I target the enemy. I ain't sure, but nigga timpani. They owe me a history. Oh shoot, now I got the victory. Can't show the devil no sympathy. Changing my chemistry, literally, physically. Raise the vibration, yeah, this the new energy.
I
Oh
say the
God.
devil did it, but did I mean me? Am I, could I be really my enemy? Oh Lord, hear me, please. Seeking refuge from being. I say the devil did it, but did I mean me? Am I, could I be really my enemy? Oh Lord, hear me, please. Seeking refuge from being.
Yalla.
Yo. Bar.
Yes, let's go.
Love it, love.
So many bars. I can't wait to chat with you after your second performance. Yes, yes, yes. Give it up for Lish 2 times. Make some noise. Woo! Thank you. We're going to chat a little bit after your second performance. Beautiful. All right. If you're liking the show so far, I want you to drop one word in the chat to describe how you're feeling right now. Drop one word in the chat to describe how you're feeling right now. And if you're getting inspired from tonight and you have something passionate that you would like to talk about and share with us, shoot us an email about being a guest on the next episode. If you want to feature, let us know, because that's how we build community. All right, next up, first of all, let me see. Are you dropping words or emojis in the chat to describe how you're feeling? I see lifted. Found the Kit said it's the hook for me. We got community. Applause from Ali T. Muhammad. Inspired fire. I love it. And lots of stars. Beautiful. We're going to keep it moving with a really interesting topic coming up with my brother, Hisham Bedri. Now, Hisham makes video games where you can tell your story at one more multiverse. Previously a researcher for all sorts of 3D things. He's interested in God, science, and philosophy. I love it. I can't wait to see this. Here's Hisham Bedri with Non-Human Persons. Take it away, and thank you for your energy that you're giving to everybody tonight.
Shout outs to the crew organizing this. Wow. Thank everybody for being here. This is really fantastic. And I feel really terrible because I have to follow Lish 2 times. Dang. But let's get started. Here we go. Let's open it up with, how many people do you think there are? Simple question, right? The first answer you might reach in your hand for is 7 or 8 billion human beings alive on the planet right now. And I'll tell you you're wrong. But basically, I would say that if you push beyond just like how many people are alive right now, you can ask another question, which is how many people who have ever lived. And you'd be surprised to know that, there are estimates that that number is closer to 100 billion people. So that's 100 billion souls, you could say, that have, come and gone and existed. But what if we were to take a step deeper in that question and say, well, how do we actually define what a person is? It seems kind of obvious. You're like, hey, human being, I'm rational. I see Professor Hankins nodding along because it's so true. Sci-fi hits at this all the time. Maybe there's actually more to what a person is than what we're just thinking about. There are definitions that say a person is basically a rational actor, a rational individual. And that can really extend to a lot more than just, human beings. There's plenty of really, really intelligent animals. There's over 1.5 million whales out there. But, even as a Muslim and some of the things we're exposed to, we think that, wait, are there more rational actors than just humans and, and whales and, even like some members of the animal kingdom? People talk about jinn, people talk about Injils and angels. And you really start getting to some really interesting questions, like actually, how many people are there? It's a really big number. But I love whales. Let's talk about some whales real quick. I think whales are some of the most interesting semi-people that we think about. They're incredibly intelligent. In terms of language and communication, which is one way of thinking about intelligence and what's a person, what's not a person. Sperm whales have essentially a language that we think they talk to each other in. They use these codas like this, where they produce sound that can echo across the ocean and they can talk to each other. They have little separations. They have the ability to identify, parts of their speech. So it's almost like they have names. If you look at other kinds of whales, like humpback whales, they may have like songs that they change every different season they come into each other. So it's either that maybe they're changing, what song they're practicing for, or maybe it's like they have like a top hits, like a Billboard Top 100, who knows? Or maybe it's something deeper. It's crazy too, because whales, when they talk, their voices can carry 3,000 miles or so, some species. So that's crazy. That's like talking to somebody at the other end of the ocean. Whales could like exist in one place and hear whales that are on the other side of the ocean. The ocean is basically like whale Twitter. It's crazy. But very fantastic. And essentially we can go into Islam too and see that there's also a lot of mentions of the way we treat people, not just human beings. There's a hadith that's narrated a couple different narrations. So one narration is that there was a dog that was thirsty, and a woman found a dog that was thirsty, went and provided water for that dog, and that woman was granted a tremendous amount of good deeds for taking care of that dog. That's incredible. Allah here, I think, some people can take different interpretations of it, but there's clearly a lot of importance given, even to, like what Western society might not consider animals important, but here you kind of immediately seeing the spirituality, the existence of animals being key and paramount. People beyond just like you and me and everything like that. And you can even see that there are examples in the Quran of even like animals speaking. The hoopoe example, for example, is sold in the Surah An-Naml. You have like essentially Prophet Sulaiman basically coming up and saying, hey, where is the hoopoe bird? I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to basically ask them, like where they are. And they have to give excuses, kind of like they're in a Monday morning meeting, so it's boss. So that's pretty cool, very exciting stuff. Now, I would take it a step further and say, and I've lost people on this, but let's go for a second. They're birds, that could be people. Could trees be people? Could rocks be people? Could stones be people? Could mountains be people? You have Allah even talking if you look at there's one surah that basically says that the trust was offered to the heavens, the earth, and the mountains, and they declined it, personifying even the mountains. So you can even say, are mountains people? Some people would say that sounds like it's crazy. I think every day we see a lot of like what AI and everything can do. It seems less crazy that you can think of non-acting, non-biological things as people. So we've all heard of ChatGPT. Fundamentally, the best way to waste time, I think. Definitely go check it out. And essentially, it's pretty cool in that you can start typing things and you start getting things back. You start thinking, wait a second, is it intelligent? Is it gonna take over the world? Is this the end of humanity? And I think what's super interesting, what I want to get across is that, and I heard of one student say that science is typically always behind a lot of the things that we see in Quran and Islam, and that if you think through a lot of the things in Islam, it is not necessarily the scariest thing in the world to have non-human people and non-human intelligences. And we'll take it a step further. So as people think about this really, really scary future where you're saying, AI exists, therefore we have to be depressed, you can think about, are there ways that you can approach this problem or think about this problem where it's not just a hoodwink or not just a scary, future vibe that's coming to destroy everything? Are there ways that we've been prepared for this by a lot of the things in our religion? And I'll talk about one of the ways, I'll finish one of the ways I think we have been prepared for that. And I think is the story of specifically, how do we bring questions like compassion into this? And I bring this, we talked about whales earlier, whales talking. One of the cool things you could do with AI, and people are trying to do right now, is collect a lot of whale sounds, tons of whale sounds. In the same way, ChatGPT and others were trained on English words and text. And maybe someday be able to create something that translates between whales and humans, remediated by AI. And if we were able to, make that work, what do you think are words that we would have in common with whales? And I mean, maybe this is like something we can answer in 5 years. I think one bet for sure I think that we have in common probably with whales is questions about family. Maybe the question of mother is something that's like incredibly in common. And I think that there may be other questions maybe we don't have in common, like maybe the concept of time or tomorrow. Maybe that's not something whales have in common with us. Maybe some things that we think are inherent and universal really aren't that universal. But I would posit there's probably two things that are more universal. things like God and things like compassion. And I think compassion is something that we should need to think about when we're developing technology. And I think we need to think about when we're thinking about what counts as a person. And thank you. Appreciate it.
Wow. Wow. My mind is blown right now. Truly. That was so cool. Let's give some snaps to Hisham. If your video is on, you could feel free to throw up a little, whale or some form of emoji in your video or in the chat. So dope. So we've got some questions for you, and I'm just super excited right now. First question we have is, how do you differentiate between persons and beings? Or do you consider them the same? Where would you place AI in all of that? So how do you differentiate between persons and beings? And, you heard the question, what's the breakdown between AI, and is it the same or is it different?
Yeah. I think a lot of people, I don't have the answer, and I'm super interested in how you define that. And I think that's kind of thing. I think what's really cool about this moment is we get to have that conversation a lot more. And I think the key is, I think my friend Mike said this to me best, is like having more people in that conversation is going to be super necessary for the future. Yeah. Sorry, that's a non-answer, but I think that we just need more people to try to answer.
Yeah, we need to keep the conversation going, right?
And include more people who haven't been included in answering that specific question.
Okay. Give more people a seat at the table so they can answer that specific question, and maybe we're closer to the answer that way. Love it. What about some of the ethical concerns, like AI reflecting existing biases? Yeah, you've heard this one before.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely incredible. I think that's the real danger behind, I think, AI. I think there's a lot of scary headlines you'll see in the upcoming future about things like artificial general intelligence, and are things really, really intelligent, and does this mean the end of humanity? And I think the key thing there's some really much smarter people than me, and professors who you should definitely talk and meet with that Abbas can connect you with. But essentially, the real scary thing about AI is just extending the kinds of systems of oppression we already have today and the things that we already see. Everything else, maybe could happen, but the thing that for sure will happen and has happened and will currently happen, and the thing that you should be afraid of, save your anger and your energy, is that, not necessarily the far off futures that could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have time for one more question, but if you can sprinkle in a personal question for me, that'd be great. So the real question is, do you have any AI related media, TV shows or podcasts you would recommend for someone who's interested? As you're thinking about it, my second question is, can you give us a little taste of what it was like being up close and personal with a whale? Because that's what I want to know.
My favorite my favorite movie of all time is The Matrix. I would say that The Matrix is and the books that it was both stolen and based on are really, really incredible. So please check that out. Work by the Wachowski sisters, and it moved from the 90s, but it definitely holds today, and it's probably even more still relevant today. I forget the name of the book, but I will grab that for you and post it in chat right after. Was it like being next to a real whale? I'm a whale watching once. They're really big. way bigger than you think.
That's it. You heard it here first, folks. Whales are really big. Oh, I can't wait to enter whale Twitter one day. Thank you so much, Hisham. Please drop in the chat how people can get in touch with you or follow along your journey. And thank you so much for sharing this really dope topic with us tonight. Appreciate it. Yes, thank you. All right, so we're gonna get back into some more music. We have Kuwaisiana up next again, and then we're going to chat with them. So as they're performing, feel free to drop in the chat any questions you have. And if you're interested in following along, Kuwaisiana and Lish 2 Times are both on multiple streaming platforms. I love Spotify. We are not sponsored by Spotify, but I'm going to drop the links to both groups' Spotify's in the chat so that you can follow along their journey. And I'm so stoked for this one. This one's a little bit more upbeat, so feel free to dance along in your apartments. Take it away, Kuwaisiana.
Hey, thank you. go. That one's called Vinto.
Yes, thank you. Immaculate vibes, immaculate vibes. Wow. All right. Going to bring me up on screen. I feel like I need to get your autograph right now. And I just heard your music for the first time like a week ago, about a week ago. Thank you so much for blessing us. That was dope, dope, dope. Once again, this is Kuwaisiana. We've got Brian. Brian, give a little wave. Thank you. We've got Yusuf in the place to be on the percussion. And we have Aziz on the lead vocals. Beautiful. So we have some questions for you already. And the first one is, what themes are most important to you to incorporate in your music and why?
Yeah, the most important themes are the most potent emotions. So I'm a big fan of just big feelings. And, whether it's big anger, big happiness, big sadness. I think for me as a Khariji specifically, there's a lot of angst that I think is called for expressing. There's just not a lot of that kind of mood and expression in the Arabian Peninsula's musical landscape. So I really like that, and definitely thinking about the emotions there, whether it's heavy ones or lighter ones. I just entertain them all.
Totally. I love that you talked about big feelings. In musical theater specifically, it turns to music when feelings are too big for words. So I love hearing that in your form of music as well as a band. And now another question, do you write your songs individually or together? And can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Yeah, right now, most of the songs, I'm kind of bringing them into the group. But eventually I'd like to get it to a place where we're all kind of writing together. But yeah, I'm definitely the primary songwriter, and I do have collaborators on the lyric side. So like, there's a lot of Kuwaitis who don't feel comfortable putting themselves out in the spotlight. They have family names or some kind of sensitivity around being Muslim or something. So they just kind of, sneak me in some songs on the DM and like, hey, what do you think about this? I like your style. So there have been a few songs that have come that way. But a lot of times what I will do is I will kind of, feel my feelings, write it down. And then if I'm feeling super confident, I just kind of go for it. But a lot of times I will play them for other people, especially if the song has like Arabic in it. I really want to kind of make sure that it's landing with other Arabic speakers, instead of me just kind of like, thinking that my dialect is, understandable and everything's flawless. It's a very difficult language. So, from what you heard today, you'll have noticed that there's songs in English and Arabic. There's different approaches depending on the language that you're working with, but that's kind of the take with a song like Vinto. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that it was both English and Arabic. Like, in the switch up was really cool, beautiful. And then I'm just wondering, you don't have to. If you want to tease it out, you can, but are you having any big feelings as of late that you're maybe working on, like a sneak preview of a song you're creating? And you don't have to play it, but I'm just wondering, like, what's festering in that mind of yours?
There's a song that we've been working on called Vitamin W. It's about nepotism. So in Kuwaiti culture, you have wasta, maybe in some other countries they call it the same thing. But it's kind of like a scene where like a parent is trying to reason with a school counselor and telling them like, hey, like my kid isn't that smart, but like let him into your private school. And there's a lot of things like that happen. So that's kind of like the latest big feeling that I would say is just kind of like around nepotism, and people think that you're such a big deal and so smart when you go to private school, when in fact it's just like any other school, really. You just pay more money.
Exactly. This is true. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening. I'm dropping your Spotify in the chat, but if you want to go ahead and let people know how we can follow you on the Instagrams and the Twitters, that was so dope. Thank you so much. And we can't wait to hear more from you. Show some love for Kuwaisiana. And yeah, did you have one more thing to say, Aziz? I saw you getting ready.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if you're on social media, follow us on Instagram. That's the most important place. We don't know if Twitter is gonna be around. We don't know if TikTok is gonna be around. But yeah, you hop on the newsletter. You can sign up on the website, or Instagram is like, that's where a lot of people are paying attention. And then obviously on Spotify, it's also important numbers. So the band name is Kuwaisiana. That's Kuwaisiana. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Live band vibes on a Sunday night. Beautiful. Thank you. And up next to close out our show, we've got Lish 2 times gracing the screen yet again. Take it away, Lish. And if not, you know, I've been known to spit a couple bars from time to time. Lish 2 times is ready, but if she's not ready, you know, I might have to get Yusuf from Kuwaisiana back to drop me a little beat on the percussion. Lish 2 times, we are ready for you. If we could spotlight her screen. All right, I guess it's up to me. Let me get my microphone ready. Oh man, I was excited too. The moment I turned around, she was up here. Lish, if you are ready, take it away. I'm gonna give you a beautiful intro. And just like Lish said, get ready for your questions, actually. Lish mentioned before that she created a Ramadan album, and something I wanna share about that is it's the first ever Ramadan album by a solo Muslim artist. So that's dope. You should totally take a look. And I wanna quickly quote Lish, actually. She often says that being feminine is her way of thanking God for making her a woman. And feminine is a great adjective for this young rapper. So as you're, you know, ruminating on what you want to ask her, think about how she adds femininity into all of her performances. Lish, you ready? We just see your picture. We can't hear you. So I'm gonna let you get started with that. And I'm just gonna talk to the audience a little bit as you get set up. So my boy Isaac, I brought you up before, which I was excited about. I'd like to hear from a couple other folks as well to hear how you're enjoying the show so far. Oh, we hear you now. I'll bring you up later. Take it away, Lish.
It's the greatest. It's the greatest. I spot a new moon. 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 Get us in the groove to regroup back to basics. The matrix of who's lock the devils. It's Nas versus you. Cool. أعوذ بربنا ملكنا سلاحنا وشر الوسوس وخلنا سلادي يوسوس في دور الناس منا جناتي ونا. We don't gotta worry about them gins tonight. Bumping our heads written since tonight. Day number 1, everyone excited, and they're always excited. Now get the kids we I spot a new moon, get us in the groove to regroup back to basics. Matrix of who's who, lock them devils. It's Nas versus you. Yup, it's Nas versus you. All over the world we all do the same thing, different tongues but call them by the same name. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, Maliki Yawmiddin, Maliki Yawmiddin. All over the world we all say the same thing, all do the same thing. Look at her shining all brilliant, bright and blue. Look how she refined that act right in us too. Month number 9 is go time. Fast till there's no light. Darkness in the sky. I'll refocus mine. Together we dine only at the right time. Feed the hungry, give to the needy. Look out that charity. To wait for blessings. Not for men who sees, they only see the deeds, but not what's inside, which is where it means the most. To Allah, we get close. Out the grave, we rose. Alhamdulillah, I want a halal toast. I spot a new moon. I spot a new moon. I spot a new moon. I spot a new moon.
Mashallah.
Yo.
Yes. Queen. I love the ending too. You just gave us looks and looks and looks for days. That's awesome. Beautiful. Yes. There we go. There we go.
Y'all lucky I have my backup dancers. Y'all lucky I have my backup dancers.
Next time we need the backup dancers. I'm ready. Oh, I said, I'm gonna audition for you soon, one day. That's my other goal. I want memes made out of me, and then I want to be one of your backup dancers one day. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. What'd you say?
I said we can make that meme happen ASAP.
ASAP. Let's go. All right. So beautiful. The first question, I mean, I think everybody's thinking it. Not just what inspired you to make a Ramadan album, but what were the challenges and maybe even excitements behind it? Because I've heard of people making Ramadan songs, but to make a full album, that's a lot. Yeah. So what inspired you, and also what were the challenges you faced while making an entire album?
Yeah. So what happened was last Ramadan, 2022, Laylatul Qadr, those last 10 days, I was in the studio with my producer. Shout out to Ali, the greatest. I did a song. I wrote a poem I wanted to put out, and it was about Ramadan. I said, I want a poem. Give me a beat that I can do this poem to. And him being the producer, no, it needs to be a song. Let me look at the words. And he took a line out of like a few bars out of my poem, and he actually said, this is going to be the hook, and I want you to say it like this. And they say no pain, no gain, which is what I opened up the show for MIPSTERZ last year with.
Yes.
And that song, it came out, and I was going through so much. Like, I was being attacked, the haram police. I was being attacked from so many different places, and I was in my feelings. I was in my emotions. It was Laylatul Qadr. You know what I'm saying? I do iftars almost every week during Ramadan. So when I did that song and I realized how dope it was, I was like, oh my God, why we didn't do a Ramadan album? I said this to my producer, and he was like, we can, it's not too late. We can still do one. But literally, it didn't happen until like the top of the year. I was like, I really want to do it again. I really, really want to do a Ramadan album. I've been Googling, and the only thing I saw was like one compilation album. And I felt like it really wasn't relatable to like, and I hate to say this, but like the modern day Muslim.
Mm.
The modern day Muslim is not just wanting to hear nasheeds. The modern day Muslim does not just want to hear religious innuendos. They need something that they can feel, something they can relate to. There's too much going on in the world, and we're actually privy to it. So this project, it was about free Palestine. It was about, stop blaming the devil or shaitan for everything. And anytime someone does something you don't like, or because you have a little bit of drama, stop saying the devil did it. And then let's also hone in on the things about Islamic culture that is like exciting that we can share with the world. And that's what this last song, New Moon, was about. So yeah, all of that. That's why I did the album. My bad.
All that. I love that. I love that. Beautiful. You covered a lot with that answer. So we're going to wrap up in a bit, but Sulafa wants to know who made your posters and your photos, takes your photos. Can you shout out whoever did that?
Artwork, his name is Blake Magic, hence the last name Blake. You know what I'm saying? First cousins represent. He's based out of Atlanta, and I would happily, if you DM me, I will happily send you his Instagram info. He does a lot of my graphics, and the way I shoot my videos, sometimes I just get an intern to like shoot them. He's in the kitchen, and I send it to him to edit my videos. So he does video editing, he does graphics, he do all of that. So yeah.
All that. And I like to have a little fun. So I got a question for you, Lish. You're going to see this wheel, and it's going to land on a venue that you're performing at in the future, right? We're manifesting it. What's the song you're choosing to open up the show wherever this lands? Get ready. Big money, big money. I'm hoping for Madison Square Garden.
Location matters.
Okay.
The location matters.
Location matters. Oh. You're going to the huge O2 Arena in London. What are you opening with? There's a huge Muslim population in London. Lish, what are you opening with in London in 2025?
Why 2025? I like 2024 better, but
okay 2024.
That is hard. You know why that's hard? Because London is an English-speaking country that loves hip hop, right?
Mhm.
And the intro to my EP, Covered Girl, which was my last artwork here, let me put it back up for you real quick. My biggest song that did well there on my EP Cover Girl was the intro to that project, which was called I'm What's Real and Fall in Love. Now, Fall in Love was a single that I pushed for like a year. And that's what I have a lot of choreography to. So I probably would open that show up with, I probably would open it with my song Fall in Love.
All right, and we're gonna leave them with that, a cliffhanger. If you want to listen to Fall in Love, you gotta go follow Lish on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and listen to what Fall in Love is all about.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Please and thank you. YouTube and Spotify. Like I'm trying to break away from Instagram, actually.
All right. YouTube and Spotify. And we said Hisham already subscribed. I dropped it in the chat. Thank you. Throw some love to Lish and to all of our guests. Everybody unmute yourselves and make some noise. Yes. Thank you to everybody who came out tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Tonight was so much fun. You could even say it was good fun. It was a good fun Muslim Friend show. And I so appreciate you being here for the inaugural episode. Please come to the next one and share it with anyone you think would be interested in seeing what people have to talk about. Also, once again, think about donating $10 a month, 2 to 3 hours of your time to share what you've got going on in the world, or even just following us on Instagram. MIPSTERZ does use Instagram quite a bit still. We really appreciate your support. And then for me personally, is if you want to follow along my journey, it's at Najah Knows on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and all platforms. We love you all. We're going to be uploading these episodes to our YouTube channel, so stay tuned for that. And be sure to RSVP early for the May 28th show. Same time, same location. We love you. Peace and blessings to you all. Assalamu alaikum. Have a beautiful evening. Mwah. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.